Hey, hey. Hi, guys. Welcome back. All right. Violet, Victoria, Knox, Nora A. So wonderful to see you guys tonight. Thank you so much. Great to see you again, Violet. Violet, you were first in the house. Violet wins everything, as Violet says. Anyway, guys, it's great to catch you. So we're going to do a specific message. I said I was just in the members corner, and I said, we're going to do a specific message. I got something rolling around in my head lately. And if it kind of stays there or clarifies, we'll definitely roll with it. And it got a little bit more specific. So in my head, I was picturing somebody pushing a shopping cart, but specifically they were like in a grocery store, walking across, in or out of the grocery store, trying to obviously get from point A to point B. But it wasn't about the shopping. It was about the difficulty. When you get one of the shopping carts that has like something on the wheel or the wheel doesn't function, and it was like somebody was trying to push, but like one wheel wasn't moving. So it was like a huge amount of resistance is what was coming up in this image in my head, is the difficulty someone was having in trying to push something forward. Now, that can be frustrating, or in this case, we actually have that Five of Pentacles, and it feels to me like we may have possibly a divine feminine who says, I tried everything, and nothing I did was right. It doesn't matter if you got a shopping cart that you can't seem to get moving, it's not you. There's something wrong with the cart, right? I mean, we all know how to push a cart. That's it. There's no magic to it. There's really nothing that we can do to fix it. If there's something wrong with it that somebody else, needs to come over and maybe replace that wheel, or maybe the wheel is jammed. But as far as like, she wasn't pushing the cart wrong. So whatever this was, if it was about love, if it was about relationship, I'm going to say it's one of those where she may be saying, I did everything that I could think of, but somehow it still just didn't work. I couldn't make it move forward. There was nothing more that I could do. We see a feminine who, she could possibly be someone who has like a very specific kind of tattooing or something on particularly like arm or shoulder. It could be something that almost looks like veins, or maybe she has more prominent veins or something on her, arms, for example, or hands. Could be somebody who works with their hands, and winds up with more noticeable vasculature. But I'm picturing first and foremost her hair, the way that it, kind of spreads out almost like veins or pulmonary system or something. That could be something that she has either tattooed on her body, or she's wearing a shirt or something that has like even like marbling, or like if it's a shirt, it may have marbling on it. If it's a tattoo, it may be something that has like a tree branch or something that is reminiscent of this branching thread-like shape to it. Just as a side note, again, these are the specific messages. If there's a camellia bush that's blooming somewhere outside of her house as well, that could denote where she lives. Camellias are, early spring, cold weather flowers. But even this seems like it's not doing so well. There's a plant or a bush or something in her life that doesn't look super happy, or there's, I don't know, it just feels like she kind of like, it's made her sad. Like she faded like a little flower, because I think she's thinking that it's her fault somehow. No matter what I did, I just couldn't seem to make it work. There's a feeling of, I guess I didn't do it right. We have the Fool card upright. It's almost like she couldn't calm down somebody that was really very scattered, somebody who wanted to go, somebody who was in, always in two different places at once, somebody who didn't want to stay home, didn't want to be in one connection, didn't want to be in one place. She could have dealt with somebody that was extremely scattered. Even here, I mean, the Eight of Wands can be really exciting, but all these different colors on the palette wheel blasting through. I almost feel like this person was very, first off, very opposite her. She might have even been made to feel like she was dull or uninteresting, because this person was like, go all the time. Couldn't keep their thoughts on one thing, jumped around to different shiny objects, was constantly like never present, even if they were present with her. This is somebody, I know this is more like the earth orbiting this person's, belt buckle. But to me, it reminds me of more of a belt buckle that could have been very prominent. They had a belt buckle, or even like if they were somebody who was always seeking attention and wanting to win, how sometimes, um, like a winning some kind of like award or overly enhanced something that they can keep polished and shiny, something that says that they did really great. It's almost like she dealt with someone that was always chasing a dream, chasing something else. But I also feel like their dreams could change, their ideas could change. They could just do off the wall stuff that they didn't consult her. They just would do random things that had nothing to do with partnership, that had nothing to do with, like, if she was offering her heart and consistency, it's not that wasn't appealing to them, but they're the kind of person who I'm picturing somebody, I know this is weird and specific, but somebody who, rides by on like a scooter and, lays down and swings their hand out and snatches up, the half of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that their mom put out on the ground for them. Like, they can't even be bothered to pause long enough to sit down and eat. But I'm feeling like they were that kind of kid, but it turned out they stayed that kind of an adult. And they never really had the thought process to recognize, like, hey, as a kid that wants to go, and you swing by and you grab food that your mom makes for you and you can't even be bothered to stop and sit down and eat, that's fine. That's funny. That's cute. You're, little hellraiser kiddo who's super, active and stuff. But as a grown up, if you're still doing that and you're always scattered and you're never present, even when you're sitting across from someone, that can make people feel really devalued in front of you because you've never given them the full attention. Now, again, it doesn't mean that this person has to change who they are to accommodate whatever her needs are. But if she's thinking she did something wrong, maybe I was an old fuddy-duddy, maybe I was a stick in the mud, maybe I just wasn't interesting enough. If that's how she's been feeling, I would say, to excite this person, you'd have to be like a sparkling disco ball that never stops moving nor changing colors. And it's like they can't stay in one spot. Nothing will hold their attention for very long. They were not a good match. We have the Temperance card sideways. These two, she couldn't have moved this forward. She couldn't have moved the shopping cart forward. They weren't looking, and maybe she shouldn't have been looking for someone like them, all said and done, because they didn't really have the attributes she wanted. But she's been caught up thinking, I didn't have the attributes they wanted. I was too dull for them, I think. No, just because they're highly active does not mean that you're somehow boring. Nor does it make them bad for being what they are. It just is, these two are not a blend, right? That Temperance card should have been, two people that would, merge. They can be different, but they're complementary. But I'm going to say that they didn't complement each other at all. This would be like, what's that episode of Friends where Rachel makes like a dessert, but she blends like a beef shepherd's pie along with like some, I don't know, like tiramisu. And of course, Joey still goes ahead and eats it. But I'm feeling like that. Like, there are certain things you don't blend together. You just don't. You don't want to do layers of tiramisu and shepherd's pie and think that that's going to come out yummy. It's just not. That's the equivalent of trying to blend these two relationships together, or these two kinds of people together. It's not going to work. In fact, it would be a mess. So let me go back over here to her, though, because if we have this feminine who is feeling like no matter what I did, I just couldn't be enough for them. Nothing will ever be enough for this person because they're always looking for the next adventure. And we have to remember one thing, which is the Fool. Even though it's major arcana, the Fool is the baby, the real baby of the deck. This is the person, like, what do babies do? Babies, you have to watch them all the time. As soon as they get motor skills, what do babies do? Everything in the mouth. Non-food items in the mouth. Dog food in the mouth. Non-yummy things in the mouth. So you have, it's like a team of humans that have to watch a single baby, because babies do every exploratory thing because they don't know about the world yet. They don't know about the big world yet. Babies climb stuff and knock stuff down. Babies, they make messes. You have to make sure babies can't put things into the little holes that they see in the walls. They don't understand that's an electrical outlet. You got to, put clips on your cabinets because babies want to know what's inside the cabinets. And then they find juicy bottles of things and they don't know that they're cleaning supplies. There's a reason we have to go so far to protect babies because they don't know and they want to taste everything, explore everything. They got to feel everything. They got to, touch it all. They got to crawl across it. They got to lick it. That's why we have to keep track of babies. This person as the baby of the deck, this would be, to put it mildly, it could be very exhausting. Sometimes people who come across as, courageous and full of, vitality, it's also that just like a baby is full of wonder and delight and joy, but they also don't know certain things yet. And I feel like this person is lacking some kind of awareness, situational awareness, personal awareness, life lessons, and that kind of awareness. So again, very difficult person to deal with, even though they could have been just as delightful as a baby is. There's nothing better than babies on this earth, right? They're funny, they're also really exhausting, but we love them. But at the same time, I'm picturing that this person was a little like that. Okay, so going back over to our feminine, she actually has greater balance in her life now, even though she's here saying, I think I wasn't enough. But if she pauses just a little bit, she may discover, wait a second, actually my life is a lot calmer without them buzzing around, without me trying to figure out what are they doing, where are they going next? Oh my God, what did they just do? Oh shit, what did they just say? I don't get what's going on. Where'd they just spend the money? That would be very hard to be in a relationship with someone who is scattered to that extent, unless you have like a comfort zone with it and the two of you have already built, a nice rapport. But this feels like someone that somehow her life is actually calmer, not being with them. And this is not to say that this person is bad, not in any way. But I don't see them having regard for another person. Look, somebody can be scattered, they can be all over the place, but as long as they still have, regard for another person and caring, and they're also present and, compassionate toward a partner, that could still really work, right? It's when there's none of that, when it's all just me, that I think it would be a problem. And the reason I say this is pretty one-sided is because even though she keeps saying, I must not have been enough, the truth of it is her life is more balanced on her own without their energy, even though she's lamenting it, saying it's so sad that this didn't work. No matter how I pushed the cart forward, I couldn't make it go. That's because you were trying to move forward with someone that wasn't moving in the same direction. How do you push a shopping cart forward if one wheel is pointing to the left? You're not going to be able to get it go in a straight line. That's basically what she was dealing with this person, is what it seems like. So if she needs to recognize that she's actually in a better place, a calmer space, here's the thing. Her flowers are blooming. In fact, here she feels like a little wilted flower, or she thinks that her flower has, died or something like that. And in fact, other flowers are blooming. She really needs to change something here about like maybe her aura. Maybe she's got kind of like a fuzzy little kind of a sad, like gray aura or something. It's almost like she's very vibrant, but she's consistently vibrant. She might have an aura that is quite, tangerine, orange. Oh, now I think of that song, Tangerine, Zeppelin. This feels like she's actually incredibly vibrant, but she's also calm and possibly like extremely high vibrational. She tends to be extremely happy. She could have glorious dark hair. By the way, she has dark hair in both of these. She could be really stunningly beautiful, especially in like really, sorry about my pup, really vibrant colors. But the way she typically comes across is somebody who's calm, but also, that marigold orange is oftentimes like associated with some of the, like say in Nepal and some of the Buddhist monks and the temples. It's a beautiful, rich color, but really high vibrational. I feel like she smiles a lot. I feel like this is somebody who has a beautiful smile. And before she met them, she might have felt quite vibrant, but after meeting them, and because they were like so much, so many different colors, so much scattered energy, so over the top, it actually kind of made her say, wow, I guess I'm by comparison, I must be so boring. And obviously I wasn't interesting enough to hold their attention, instead of realizing, wait a second, I have a different kind of brightness to me. I'm content and stable and exude happiness typically. Some of that, I think she lost because of having dealt with them. Her like authentic energy flow, her authentic joy, her authentic, I think she is outgoing and I think she's extremely noticeable. I think she would be extremely eye-catching. I mean, black hair in tangerine orange, could you get sexier? Could you get more beautiful than that? But in her mind, she's like, I'm probably just a dull little, drab gray dove. She's with the Seven of Pentacles. I feel like she's probably somebody who's like got a really wide palette for lots of different food and stuff as well. We have all kinds of different food on all of these plates and dishes. She could have like an international cuisine. She could be a great cook. She could have tons of different like ideas and thoughts and education. She could have lived in a couple different countries in her life, or she's traveled and she's had a lot of experiences, but she like really soaked up those experiences and brought those things into her life. She may not realize that the difference between her and them is that they may be someone who, let me put it this way, and this is not to knock the, like the short clips, the short clips can be really fun, right? Scrolling and seeing all the clips, but clips are literally, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, maybe 3 minutes long. If every 60 seconds you're changing thought patterns, changing a content, changing something, do you ever get a full comprehensive thought process? Or is it just like, you're flipping back and forth and you're getting little jolts of, interesting things, but is there as much depth? Is it like you walk away and you remember that clip that you saw the way you would if you read an entire book, or if you watched longer content that actually had an entire message to it that you would still be chewing over and thinking about for days later because you digested more information than a 30-second. I mean, hey, 30 seconds can be very impactful, but their whole life is maybe lived in 30-second clips of this and that and pieces that don't necessarily fit together, versus her life that might be, again, a menagerie, but she took time and she put all those clips together and then turned it into something where she has a variety of knowledge base. She has like a certain amount of like profound intention with the things that she's chosen to learn about, consume, the experiences that she's had. I think this person just goes for the quick little flicker past things, go past information, jump into relationships, right back out, have very short clips of experiences. And hers have been things that she actually integrated into her life, things that have meaning. Even though we see her with a great deal of depth to her, she could have been someone who we would have said, oh, wow, she has like a lot of different experiences. I wonder how that all fits together. How has she reconciled so many different aspects of her life and turned it into one cohesive, image of herself? She could have clothing that she wears. It's from scattered all around the world, different types of, clothing that she likes to wear, different types of cultures. She could speak a couple different languages or little bits here and there, but it all fits together because she's taken a little bit more time to knit it together, kind of like a patchwork quilt or like a complimentary buffet, or when we make a 5-course meal, but we plan it out and we think about each dish, so it does all kind of fit together. That seems to be the way she lives her life, and they are more like whatever comes to mind, just at random, just grabbing stuff at random. So they're very different, but I think she's starting to grapple with this and recognize this. Like, wait a second, I think I wasn't interesting enough to keep their attention, but I'm pretty interesting. I mean, I've traveled, or I've, explored different things. I've learned different stuff. I have different interests, different hobbies. I'm pretty broad-minded. Most people have always kind of found me to be okay to talk to. I'm not particularly dull. So why am I Why am I thinking that I wasn't interesting anymore? We have an Ace of Pentacles and we have a Four of Discs. Okay, so some stuff has been fermenting in her mind that maybe in truth she should not bother thinking about this too much anymore. Maybe let this one go. Maybe not stress out over what's wrong with me. Why wasn't I enough? Hey, maybe I am enough. Maybe we just weren't a match. Maybe I should think about like this from a different perspective. Maybe in truth, over time, either we could be good together or but I need to hold back until they mature. Maybe this wasn't me not being interesting enough. Maybe this was them being too much in the baby's energy. Who knows? Maybe later on we'll meet again and things will be different and we'll have a fresh beginning. But for right now, this is about holding back. It can also be about holding on to a bit of hope. But there is this idea that I think is finally taking shape in her mind that it's like, but wait a minute, I don't really want to have to be chaotic. I like variability. I like new ideas, new thoughts, but I don't want to be chaotic. So maybe it's they who are still on a journey to figure some stuff out. Maybe we'll have a new beginning someday. Until then, though, man, there's got to be a lot of maturing. Like the yeast has to rise, the bread has to rise, the the beer has to actually ferment. Like this is not going to be something that happens overnight. If I ever end up with this person, it'll be way later on. Somebody could run a bakery, own a bakery, or they're very fond of like beer and good bread or something like that, or someone's going to be baking bread just at their own house or something. They've got a plan for maybe this is like planning for something for Easter, but I think she's more of a planner and she thinks things out, even though she's also extremely creative. She's somebody who I feel like she does things and has foresight. They live for the moment. And she's realizing that. Can we get another message over there just for them? Knight of Cups and the King of Pentacles. Look, she may have made a way bigger impact on them than what she would ever know. Knights are still action takers. Someday he could become a full-blown King of Pentacles, but he may know that she's really special. He may not have necessarily treated her like that, but it doesn't mean he didn't know. Can I ask, character, why have you been coming across so scattered? Hanged Man. Were they in a time of their life, maybe they felt too hemmed in for far too long? They didn't get to explore, when they should have. Like, let's say, for example, this is somebody who was raised in a very restrictive household, very restrictive life. And then when they finally, got to branch out and maybe claim their own life, even if this has happened later on, this person could have been going buck wild. This could be somebody who changed a pattern of their life. And for far too long, they were kept like in a cage, And now that they're out of the cage, they're just trying to make up for lost time. And they're just going wild and scattered. But it doesn't mean that they don't know real value when they see it. But okay, character, but do you realize that you made her feel like she's not interesting, not very important? Ace of Pentacles in the reverse, I don't think that factored in. I feel like they were kind of all about themselves, which, okay, understandable if someone has felt like they were kept in a cage. Like, let's say he married young, maybe was in the relationship with the wrong partner. Over time, years and years passed, and it's like, I never dated. I never got to, go snowboarding or backpacking across Europe or, the things that I would have done because I was already in a very grown-up relationship at a very young age. And now that I'm single and out dating, it's just, oh my God, look at all the people out there. Look at all of the adventures. This weekend, I want to fly to Paris. I wasn't thinking about buying a ticket for you or even asking you to come with me because right now it's just about me going. That again, you can't really probably have an awesome partnership with someone who's clearly not ready for partnership. And they weren't thinking about her emotions and they weren't thinking about how they would have made her feel. What's the Knight of Cups about? No, let me pause. Let me ask, how did you feel about her? You obviously were not aware of things with her. Ten of Swords sideways. I don't think that they were really that interested. I'm sorry to say that so bluntly. They were all about themselves. Six of Wands. I don't think that they were worried if this connection ended. It's not like they were hoping for that, but if that was going to happen, or if she was unhappy enough to end things with them permanently, that was okay because they were having all this other fun. And I know it sounds terrible, but look, she's the one who said it in the first place. Like, I feel like I just wasn't that interesting. They were not in a place where they were caring about anybody else's feelings other than the fun that they were having. They might have been like, they could have been a 55-year-old grown up that was acting like a 20-year-old who was going to their first concerts and festivals. And there was, sometimes at concerts and festivals, it gets a little wild and crazy. They were having such a good time. I mean, they might have been acting very juvenile, even in front of hordes of people, but it was such a good time. And they were just chasing the next concert, the next festival. If she was mad, didn't like the way they were treating her, it didn't matter because, hey, there's all these other people to rock out with. This is so exciting. Get the Eight of Cups in the reverse. And if anything, in their mind, what mattered was first and foremost what they were going to do. If at some point she shows back up in their life, cool. It's not that they don't think she's, sexy or attractive, or that they don't want her, but they still, I feel very much like they were unconcerned so long as they have all this other stuff to chase. And this person, they could have done a lot of activities. I feel more like this person was full of activities. It wasn't about like dating tons of people, sleeping with tons of people. It was like, I want to do a marathon and go into a runner's club. Then I want to go scuba diving. So I'm going to join a scuba club. I'm going to, spend my money. It was always about, I have money. I'm spending it on what I want to do. I want to go where I want to go. To put it simply, this person was not looking for a relationship. They just weren't. Their only relationship was with the life that they didn't feel like they already got to explore. If she popped back up in their life, fine. But if she's unhappy with what they're doing, doesn't really matter at that point in time. So why do we see them potentially later becoming this generous person who has, the desire to find, love? Strength card. That's feminine strength. Ace of Cups. Seven of Cups in the reverse. Despite this phase of their life, look, you can be somebody who doesn't want to settle down in any way, shape, or form, but it doesn't mean that you don't still recognize where quality is. Doesn't mean that you don't see what's important. But let's use shopping as an example. If you're saying, look, I don't care about buying like a piece of furniture that is going to be like this beautiful carved statement piece. What I want right now is just, I'm having a party on the weekend. I want some glitzy, fabulous, whatever. It can be super cheap. It doesn't even matter if it falls apart by the time the party is over. It's basically a piece of fun, shiny, whatever. So all I need is, let's say it's a bar, a tiki bar or something. And it's like, it just is a prop. That's all I need to buy right now. It doesn't mean that I don't see that there are really nice pieces of furniture. I could have a built-in bar. I could really build something amazing. I could have this great space for entertaining. I'm only concerned about the weekend party that's coming up that I'm hosting, and I just need a cheap faux tiki bar. So whatever I can get at the cheapest amount, that's fine. But I know what better quality is, but that's not what I'm in the market for right now. That's the way I would try to describe this. They know better. They know what's real. They know at some point they're going to want real love, and they know exactly what kind of person they would settle down with, but they're not in the settling mood. Someday, though, they will be. Now, here's the thing that I don't love about this is that that means, obviously these are the choices that they're making, but they're also pretty selfish about where they're at right now, in not really caring too much. They actually don't. I'm so sorry. I know this is so tough, but they don't even really want a new beginning with her right now. That's why they're not pursuing her right now. They want to run amok. They want to party, is all I keep getting. They want to party right now. But someday when they're done, like, filling their party streak, then they're going to want the real deal. Then they're going to want the high quality, the person that I think she is, the person who is strong and consistent and loving, the person who they know isn't like confused or confusing. Basically, the person who is nothing like how they are right now. They're going to want that someday, and that's who they're going to pour their energy into. Is it her? Is this like something where they're like, oh, someday, yeah, I want it to be her, but I don't right now because she wants me to be that person now. Yeah, High Priestess is in the reverse. They already know. They already know. She is that person. Oh, I want her, but I definitely don't right now because she expects me to be a King of Pentacles. I won't be a King of Pentacles right now. I know exactly who she is, but I wish to run amok, and I'm going to run amok. It's like they have to run right now. Universe, do you want to weigh in on that? This almost feels like somebody who's just so not ready for a relationship. The universe says we got the Star card. She should be out of their reach right now. She should be out of their league right now. She is what they need to aspire to grow into, but she shouldn't be walking around feeling like somehow she's not enough. The Star talks about healing. It also talks about distance. And it kind of says that maybe she should not be. Here we have a Queen of Cups, somebody really loving, but she's pulled away and she's holding her cup back. You don't get this. You're not behaving well enough to get this. You don't get my cup. The universe is actually only giving her a message. It says you shouldn't be loving on them right now. I mean, how do you stop caring about somebody, right? You don't. But if there is a standard to be met, they're not meeting it. So they haven't earned your cup. You're living a consistent and like higher level life. You shouldn't have to step down from that in order to match their wildness or to run. Anyway, you wouldn't be able to. They're running for a reason. Universe, can we look at their actions? Why is it that they're like needing this frantic energy? 9 of Wands. It's wounded energy. Whatever their life was before they met her, like I said before, I gave examples of like maybe somebody had been married for a long time, really young. They felt like they missed out on all kinds of chapters of, random exciting things that they should have done, foolish things that they should have done when they were young, but they didn't. They can get a chance to, so they're basically doing it now. It's a wounded energy that's making them, have to go and explore absolutely everything that they missed out on. That's how they're handling, or they are wounded and they don't want to deal with it any other way right now, and they're like running off excess energy. Ace of Sacred Circles. This person will be a very different person once they get through this, is what it says. A very different person, like night and day different. Every inconsistency that they have right now is going to become completely consistent. Every stupid thing that they do, they wouldn't do any of that once they get through this. It is weird because this person has like a really like two different halves to them. And I'm not saying Jekyll and Hyde, because it's not that like they're evil versus good. It's that they're hyper wild, coping with stuff, and then solid. But this Ace of Pentacles says, that's the card of having new beginnings. Sometimes they had a new beginning where they went buck wild, and then they'll have another new beginning where they get really stable. But this is not the time for her to be giving them something stable. If somebody's dancing around wildly, do we say, here's my, I'm going to give you this like $3,000 irreplaceable antique vase to hold while you're dancing around wildly? We would not do that. It's the same thing. Why would we hand our heart, our cup, to somebody who is obviously, just all over the map right now. So it kind of simplifies things a bit and says, darling, don't for a minute go walking around feeling like you weren't enough. Your consistency, you're not wounded, right? She's actually not wounded. She kind of already figured this out too. Like at some point in time when they're not doing what they're doing, who knows what could happen. But for right now, I need to hold back from them. And the universe just basically said the exact same thing. They have to run amok for a bit. What is the extent of that? I'm just curious. Is this somebody who's running out dating everybody? No, with the Ace of Swords, this is somebody who's looking for themselves, though, for sure. They're trying to get their vision clear. They're trying to find their own identity. And with that in mind, with this, perpetual, like, are they just trying to stay so busy? Six of Swords, Three of Cups. It's so crazy. I don't know how to explain such a bizarre, opposite. So they're behaving opposite of what they're trying to find. They're trying to find peace so then they can have a harmonious relationship. But the way they're doing it is by going like 50 miles an hour all the time, 100 miles an hour all the time. But it's because they want to actually get to a place of peace in themselves. But it is like they need to run their energy off so they're fatigued enough. Like that somehow is going to help them find some answers, some truth about, how to like maybe relax their energy. With that Nine of Wands and it says that they're wounded still. Wounded energy. Let's picture it like this. Somebody's brokenhearted, and so they go to the gym and they work out like so much harder than they typically would because they're trying to burn off the heartbreak. That's the way I would maybe describe this person. What you're looking for is, I just want to be able to fall asleep. And if I lay down in bed, I can't. So instead I get up and I go to the all-night gym and I run for 2 hours. I work out on the elliptical for 3 hours because then I can finally be exhausted enough where I can go to sleep. And bit by bit, little by little, I do that routine for a while, and then finally one day I actually realize I am healed. I'm beyond it. And now I got a banging body too, It just feels like that's a better way to describe this person maybe, is that I thought they were just trying to like explore the world, but it turns out they're actually running their energy off, trying to heal something in the only way they know how, so that then they can find calm and peace, which seems so opposite of what they're seeking. But if I put it in that context of someone going to the gym and working out a ton, because otherwise they lay in bed and they can't sleep at night, this person can't be calm right now. Not in this storyline. They have to be scattered because it's how they are healing themselves, with like crazy amounts of like dynamic activity. And even maybe that explains why they're trying to find like I said, loud concerts, go where there's lots of other people, go where they don't have to hear their own voice, stay super busy, run, have an overly filled schedule where they have no time to slow down and just be peaceful with a partner. They don't really want to, because then that's going to be one-on-one conversation and they're going to have to talk about themselves. They want their head so full of noise and their life so full and their schedule so packed. And the thing that they wouldn't want more than anything in this story is to be in one spot. Even here, they're like, no, I'd rather have one foot planted on this side of a chasm and the other foot on that side. They don't even want to be on terra firma. They want to always be on shifting ground. So no wonder they would be a nightmare to try dating. This would be like literally the worst, most destructive. Why were these two ever even like trying this in the first place? Can I ask that real quick, universe? Why did these two ever even like Five of Cups? I have to say this. There's no judgment on our characters here, but I'm wondering if both of them have some wounds and, they attracted each other in. For her to go right to the Five of Pentacles, see, I must not be enough. I can't help but wonder if perhaps both of them had a wound and they smelled that in each other and drew each other toward one another just a little bit. That could be that two, energies of like something feels depleted. Maybe they were drawn to each other for that reason. like attracts like sometimes. Um, but then that also maybe helps each of them to grow. They were definitely not supposed to be with her right now. They would have been a nightmare relationship for her. And unfortunately, they would have triggered her to feel bad in herself. But then you notice how she swings the opposite direction out of it and goes, no, that's some BS. I'm not boring. I'm interesting. I know I am. Sometimes again, the thing that we seek out is like the medicine that we need to help us to heal. We pick somebody who's similarly broken or wounded to us, then they start to do stuff that then reflects more of the wounds that we already had. And then we go, oh, this is bullshit. This is stupid. I know better than this. And it's like that actually could have helped her to get to the truth of something instead of carrying that wound. So I do kind of think that these two have helped each other in a very complex way, for sure. But it does look like these two have actually helped each other. But I don't think that their story is over. I mean, I know this comes across as to like, wow, really? Do we want to cheer for these two getting back together? This all says later it would be a whole different story. I'm not exactly cheering for it or not cheering for it. This is more just like a look at why two characters were really unsuccessful together at one point in time, but how they possibly actually even benefited from things. And certainly things could be different in the future for them. Nora A, thank you, Angel. You were so sweet. Thank you, honey. You guys, really good to see you all. Thanks for hanging with me. RS, hi. Creepy but beautiful. Awesome to see you. Oh, you sweethearts. Nora A, you're so sweet. The memberships might not even be visible on the device that you're using. So that's probably why, honey, because normally next to the like subscribe button, there would be a little join button, and the join would take you to the membership page. But if you're on like an iPhone, I think that I've heard that you won't see it. And I think that's true for an iPad as well. So it's probably the device that you're on, but don't even think twice about it. I'm just so honored you're here. Thank you so much. I'm so honored, and thank you for that beautiful donation. You're so kind. Hi, Renee, Stephanie D, Miss So the Peaceful Observer, Melanie, how are you? Victoria Knox. Thank you. You saw him hurting the ocean at the beach. Grant's Modern Life. Thank you, hun. Thanks for being here. Roxanne, awesome to see you. I know. You know what's so funny, Roxanne? This is one of those, like, it's a super thick sweater. So I can only wear it like in the winter because it gets really hot. This is like the thickest sweater I own. And it's kind of a funky color. And I think the only time I've ever worn it is with this backdrop. It's just one item that I keep in my closet only for this backdrop because it's really an odd color, but I'm glad I have it for this one. But it's like I should pack it together when I put these away because it's the only thing I'll ever wear this with. Decoded, I hear you. It's so true. Hi, T baby. Patricia Bookatour, wonderful to see you again, love. Decoded. Hey, you're on your way to work. Have a wonderful work day. Hi, AC. Awesome to catch you again. Violet, thank you. Sarah J, hello, darling. Hi, Ataraxia. Wonderful to see you. Oh my gosh, 2:32 in the morning and you're still up and rocking it with me. I am so honored. Thank you, honey. Hi, Trish. Kelly Richard, I'm so glad you made it. That's so exciting. Thank you for being here for the live. Contented Tiger, awesome to see you. All right, you guys, have a wonderful evening. I will probably still see some of you over on the other channel. I'm going to go take a breather, probably get some food. And I think Mr. Aries is going to demand a little chug outdoors again. So I'll see you guys again soon. Bye for now. Hey, Super Thought. Bye.